So OPSS sits inside the Department of Business and Trade. It has many different departments, and the Office for Product Safety and Standards came about under this name. Before that, it was Regulatory Delivery, probably around 2017, around there. So our mission is, would you believe, to support businesses in growth and investment in strengthening the UK economy. And we are here to enable consumers to buy safely and confidently, and businesses to sell products with confidence as well. We are a national regulator, so we cover the whole of the UK. So what do we do? So we provide enforcement services to a number of agencies, DEFRA being one of them. But the main responsibilities include product safety, so products sold in the UK, also construction products, and these are just various areas in OPSS, and hallmarking, but this also includes the recent Prime Bill, which places new legal responsibilities on online platforms, such as ensuring sellers follow product safety rules, preventing unsafe products from being sold, providing clearer information to consumers, and cooperating with regulators. Just a quick question, how many of you have heard about the WEEE regulations? Hands up. Oh, good number. How many of you comply? Oh, good. Okay. How many of you find regulations confusing? Really theoretical. Okay. So, OPSS enforces the WEEE regulation, and do you know the amount of times that when people ask me what I do, and I stand there and I say, I regulate WEEE. Doesn't go too well, but it works. It's quite embarrassing. So we enforce the WEEE regulations. That basically means the waste of electrical and electronic equipment regulations, and it basically means as simple as this. If you sell any electrical electronic products in the UK, doesn't matter how big or small you are, and you sell either in a store, pop-up store, online, mail order, whichever way you sell it, you are obligated under these regulations. It is a legal requirement, and you have to abide by those regulations, whether you're a producer. I'll break this down. So in the regulations, when we refer to a producer, that is a manufacturer and an importer. When we refer to a distributor, that's a retailer. Wholesalers, well, you sort of exist in between, all right? So we enforce the WEEE regulations and battery takeback regulations. So these regulations are part of the waste framework, and what they do is when you put things on the market and your consumers have all these products that are sitting at home, the old ones, and they're built up in drawers, and I'm sure that most of you do have, because the average person here now has between 6 to 10 electrical and electronic products, which only 10 years ago was between 2 and 3. So you can imagine the amount of waste that is coming into the UK. So the regulations basically mean that you, as a retailer, have to provide a process of takeback, and I'll go into that a bit more through the slides. But it is a legal requirement, and the aims of these regulations is that you stop that waste going to landfill and it's recycled through the correct channels, but also to stop the mining of new raw materials and reuse what we've got, because it will affect our future generations. So, regulatory powers, what is it? What powers do we have? The powers that we have, there's 2 regulations here. So there's the WEEE regulations, battery regulations, and then also separate to that is the restriction of the hazardous substance regulations to electrical products, okay? So the powers that we have under the WEEE regulations is that we can enter premises unannounced carry out inspections, and we can issue letters, enforcement notices, which we do actually go public on at OPSS, and we can instruct the business to pause their operations while we are on the premises. Okay. Under the ROS regulations, we buy your products and we test them for heavy metals, so your lead, cadmium, mercury, all of those. There is a certain percentage you cannot exceed, and that's what we test the products for. We can enter the premises and carry out inspections under the ROS regulations and issue a notice to seize and recall those products as well. One thing I do want to say is that if we do enter your premises, considering recent information I got about some rogue individuals that are presenting as trading standards, if we enter your premises, we will present our credentials. It is only Office for Product Safety and Standards that will enter your premises, and trading standards, because they're working tangent with us. But other than that, there won't be anyone else. If anyone enters your premises claiming to be any of those individuals, they must present their credentials and look for the warrant card, because we all have one. Any questions on that? Right, just to make it simple and break it down for you, what I did was I mapped out the whole regulation for you. And I know you can't hear me, but I'll try and speak as loud as I can. So this is the waste framework that you look at. This is the WEEE regulation. The red bit that you see here. Can you hear me? So this is the framework that you're seeing right now, which is the WEEE regulations. All of you that are retailers and importers and manufacturers, you need to comply with this regulation. There is a huge amount of enforcement, and now that I've trained up trading standards, they're also enforcing on my behalf. So, if you are a manufacturer or an importer, the blue bit at the top here is the bit that you need to comply with. Okay, and I'll break that down for you a bit later. Distributors, i.e. the retailers, as a retailer, you need to comply with the red bit. The difference between the two is that this is enforced by the Environment Agency, which is called producer obligations. The bottom is the distributor obligations by retailers. We enforce that Office for Product Safety and Standards. Okay? When you're a producer and you register with the EA, you will register and be part of a compliance scheme. It's not a scheme basis, if anyone is thinking that. It is part of the framework. Okay? So if you are a manufacturer or an importer, you will register with the EA. When you register with the EA, you fall under this category that was recently introduced. And that category means you as a pool of manufacturers and importers are paying into that category. And because you are part of what we call a producer compliance scheme. Those that are compliant, I put their hands up, you'll probably already know this. But the producer compliance scheme will provide you advice, guidance, recycling solutions, and support, okay? So you pay into this pot here. This pot then funds all the recycling of the retailers that have joined in at this bottom bit, okay? So when the retailer sells the product, they are under the distributor obligations. And then the distributor, as a distributor, you have two options. Ignore this, for vape retailers, this does not, you're excluded from this. The distributor take-back scheme, unless you sell electrical and electronic products, not vapes, then you can go for the distributor take-back scheme, okay? But it doesn't include vapes. So as a retailer, you have two options. The only option that you've got at the moment is in-store take-back. If you're selling online, because you'll be part of a producer compliance scheme as well, because you can join as a retailer or as a producer. They will give you support and guidance, but you'll provide in-store take-back. I'll break that down on the next slides. The money that comes out of that part, when you provide in-store take-back, when you send that waste to a recycler, they get paid out of that pot. Does that make sense? Anyone got any questions? No? Okay. Your insurance company will not refuse to give you insurance, full stop, because you are legally obliged to follow the regulations, okay? So they can't put you off of that, okay? The bins, yeah, that's another question. So there are companies out there that will offer you tubs. The tubular bins are the ones that I do recommend because they're UN approved. And you get vermiculite, which you can put inside the tin, and it absorbs the moisture and any leakage, okay? So if I was to name the best of the best in this area, I would say it's Curry's, top of the ladder. But the other things as well you don't realise, and I'll sort of probably go into it a bit more, is the benefits of takeback. You know, it brings so much. Curry's do it with, you know, the best innovative way, create new revenue and take the gold out of the PCP. And Royal Mint now they go out to buy PCP boards because they take the gold and make new jewellery. So it does create new revenue. And if you create that with customers, 76% of customers will see a loyalty with you because, let's face it, how many of you saw the Panorama program where the youngster was holding a packet of vapes that they'd already used? And that's what we tend to see with people that are vaping. Tend to have, you know, 3 or 4, or like the youngsters, they'll have quite a few in the bag. So and having that take-back process will bring them to your store because they know they can get rid of it there. So it will make a difference. And I know why you see that take-back is a burden, perhaps because the recycling is expensive, maybe? Is that what you're thinking as well? I don't think you sound negative at all. You sound like all the retailers I speak to. So you're not negative. I take on board your advice, but let me explain something to you as well. Firstly, in the last 2 years, we've been forced on 52,000 plus stores. That's 52,000 plus, where we've been forced on those for take-back. Out of those, the figure in which we rolled out on stores for vape bins was 16,300. That's in the last 12 months. And that is enforcing on all the supermarkets, all the fuel stations, all of those, okay? We've got a vape video out there that tells retailers how to comply with regulations, and I went as far as making sure it's available in 120 languages, because whilst I've got boots on the ground and I'm out there talking to you, I do notice that there's a lot of language barriers. So that's why I made that video, okay? So you can get it translated. Not only that, my team's here if you want to ask more questions. We're quite an open regulator. We don't turn up like maybe in the past regulators did with a clipboard and start doing inspections. It's not like that anymore. It's about engagement. There is something I will offer you though at the end of this, as I get towards the end of this session. Okay? Right. Any more questions? That cost only covers the treatment and recycling, that is it. So you've got to think that the recycling industry have other logistics like collections. You know, they could be collecting from one store, which in the recycling industry, it's based on weight, it's not based on units, okay? So when we collect, say you've got 10 shops and you collect a little amount there, but you've got, no one else has got a collection in between, and then you go to the other side of, say, in another region to collect. That's a lot used in logistics in terms of fuel and collection, especially when they collect and it's not really a stock feed for them, you know, it's not enough. So that's why you do have incur costs, because otherwise they would fall on their feet because they couldn't keep up with the collections being so little and so sparse. Okay. Any more questions? So the role of OPSS, it is our role to oversee vape product compliance in the UK. Okay, so regulations include product safety, that's labelling, and also the WEEE regulations, batteries and ROS. We will conduct investigations we get information from various channels, and we'll do test purchase on the products, and we'll notify you once we've done that. We carry out inspections, and we also do a lot of business activities. And I know that, as this gentleman says, it's confusing for businesses, and I do appreciate that. I was seeing John, your presentation, that was confusing. Duty stamps, really? So I do appreciate that. So we at OPSS, we've got a number of activities for you and free learning. So this learning will show you what to do. I'll give you the answers. I'll tell you, do it this way, do it this way, this way. Tick the box, we're happy days. But so far, I've yet to see anyone dare to take up that challenge. We also work with DEFRA. So DEFRA are the people that commission us at OPSS to carry out that enforcement. And we are a national enforcement services within Office for Product Safety and Standards. But we also work very much hand in hand and do coordinated enforcement with not only local police forces, NCA, but we cover CTSI, MHRA, which you all must know because you send your notifications to, HMRC, and Environment Agency, and also obviously the New Drug and Tobacco and Vaping Bill, the HSC. And we all work together to identify non-compliance and take appropriate action. I chair the cross-government Vape Enforcement Committee, and that consists of the 12 agencies across the UK. Okay, so moving on. Product safety requirements for vape. I'm sure you're all interested in this. So I thought I'd add this information. I'm not going to go into too much depth because there's a lot to it for vapes, but these are the compliant areas if you're selling, importing or manufacturing vapes. Firstly, general product safety. They must be safe for customers, full stop. Okay? Open a vape, have a look at it yourself. Is that something that you trust as a product to be sold in the UK? Restrictions on hazardous substances, as I mentioned, your products are tested to see that where it's a solder element in your vape, the soldering that you use, especially if they're manufactured in China, does not consist of a certain amount of lead or cadmium. Battery safety regulations. This is coming, and I thought I'd mention it, but you've got integrated lithium batteries. They need to meet safety requirements. And the battery reform regulations are ongoing at the moment, and in the next 2 years they will be implemented. One of the key requirements that is being a consideration is a BMS system. I've seen vapes that don't have a BMS system, battery management system. Okay, it's really important that you do start thinking about that if you haven't thought about it in your products, because it will make a massive difference. Going forward in the future, if you don't have a BMS system, your product will be classed as non-compliant. So, technical documentation. This is your risk assessment. As a manufacturer, when your product is going through the production stage, you need to show evidence, or you're required to show evidence, where you have tested the product line. And that product line is where the materials you're using have originated from, mitigating risk, noting that mitigated risk and what actions that you've taken. So all that is important, including your batch codes, your WEEE symbol, and appropriate point markings. And then, as the last point is the UKCA and CE requirements. Make sure that labeling is correct. When we did the last testing batch under the ROS regulations, a lot of the failures were down to poor importer information and labeling UKCA markings. Okay, so let's look at the supply chain, because under the regulation, when I first came across it, it was confusing for me. So when, like I said, when we refer to producers, we are referring to importers and manufacturers. If you import from China into the UK, you are classed as a manufacturer here. Okay? And you need to ensure that your products meet the UK safety and environmental regulations That's the WEEE, the battery, the ROS, and general product safety. Okay? So producers are the manufacturers and importers into the UK have certain responsibilities. Meeting the safety requirements and registering as a producer with a producer compliance scheme to report the amount of electrical and electronic equipment we place on the market. Okay? You have producer obligations if you're an importer or a manufacturer. You must also ensure that you've got the correct labelling and documentation. Distributors in this industry, these are wholesalers, you really don't have obligations on the side because it comes through you and then gets passed on to someone else. But what you do need to ensure that the products you are selling are compliant and check that you carry the documentation once you've imported them in or bought them from someone in the UK. As a retailer, which is under the WEEE regulations, you have to have a waste bin. You have to have a waste bin or a process and take back is what we call it. Okay? If you're selling online, you need to get signed up with a producer compliance scheme so they can support you on your collections. Okay? And also keep records of all collections that are undertaken by your recycler or your compliance scheme. So how to achieve compliance? It is really simple. If I put it in straightforward terms, as a retailer, let's go with producer. As a manufacturer and an importer, you need to register with a producer compliance scheme. There is an array of compliance schemes out there, and if that bamboozles you, contact me. We'll help you pick one. We'll point some out to you. We'll give you some ideas. Okay. That's what you need to do as an importer or manufacturer. As a retailer, the high street stores, you're required to have as straightforward as this: a vape waste bin in your store so your customers can put the vapes in there. It's on a like-for-like basis, so when you sell one, you can take one back. Then you need posters up, so pop some posters up. We've got some templates that you can use. You can copy and paste and brand it as your own. You need to have your information to customers. It's a legal requirement, okay? And then also keep a record of when that waste is collected and by who. And whoever collects it, an AATF or a PCS, they will give you a consignment note and you keep that together. You've got to keep that for 4 years, okay? Just some benefits that I am going to highlight when you offer takeback. And that is one, strengthen customers' trust and brand reputation. Strengthen customer relations and just position yourselves as environmental leaders. Okay? It ensures compliance and avoids penalties. You do actually support circular economy and also resource efficiency because it facilitates recovery of valuable metals and conserves natural resources. It enhances corporate social responsibility. You look like you're doing something, okay? Not look like you are doing something. And also competitive advantage. You know, businesses offering well-designed, customer-friendly take-back services stand out in a crowded market and gain a competitive edge. Streamline access to compliance support and expertise, which we will offer if you want to talk to us today. And improves operational planning and flexibility. So partners benefit from flexible collections to schedules. Collections can happen, you just need to call them up and they will collect. So the top compliance issues, and I'm mindful of the time. Yeah. Okay, so top compliance issues that we do pick up on is missing take-back process, or it's half a take-back process. Posters not uploaded, they have no record keeping. Lack of labelling of products, or the labelling is incorrect. And the important information isn't on there, or it's an old batch. Non-compliant with batteries or missing safety documentation. All of these things, I'm not going to go through all of it, but you can see in that column the issues that you have in this sector. But there are really simple steps to avoid them. They're just everyday steps that just check in and monitor these, you can avoid these issues. So conduct regular compliance checks. If they're your products, check, open one up, have a look, see if it's what you ordered or what is being manufactured. If you've got doubt, ring us. We're not going to catch you for that. We're going to be grateful that you rang us and you weren't sure about it. Also, have an audit in place, have an audit system in place to check your own products or imported products. Include reviewing the documentation as part of that process and train your staff. Every time we're going to a shop, the first person I see, the customer-facing person is the one that knows very little about the business, which is quite shocking. So train your staff, make your signage clear on takeback. You know, it's just a poster. Don't overcrowd it. Don't lose it. If you do a redecoration or a promotional event, move it to one side, but let the customers know. Practical steps to stay compliant. As a producer, really simple, register with the producer compliance scheme at OPSS. Also, you'll need to report on the electronic data that you place, that you place on the market to the Environment Agency. And as a retailer, ensure you have a clear and visible takeback. Maintain all your product information, it is important. And you know one of the best things is set up an alert, gov.uk pages, all the regulations are on there, and you can set yourself an alert for that particular regulation. Anytime there's any changes to it or any updates to it, it will alert you straight away so you stay on top of the regulations. Okay, so enforcement by OPSS. As I mentioned, we've enforced on leading supermarkets in the last 2 years. Rolled out 16,400 stores with vape bins, and that's still ongoing. We are working with trading standards, and like I said earlier, we've trained over 250 trading standards on the regulations so they can make observations and report non-compliance to us. OPSS has produced, and it's still available on YouTube, OPSS Vape video, so share it if you have other distributors. We work closely with agencies for the development and the implementation of the tobacco and vaping bill, and one of the key requirements of the licensing that is coming is that you need to have a takeback, otherwise you won't get a license. Or your license can be pulled if you're not on the takeback. So it is going to be mandated. Do you know one of the things that you mentioned in your question is that having a collection, that shouldn't be a problem. One of the things that I was also told by retailers is that recycling is expensive. So I took away that information and I worked with the recycling industry, and I understand that they do charge between around £150 to £200 per collection. But right now, after all the work that OPSS and my team have done, we've brought that down to around £40. So that's really good. And that's a £40 subscription to join them and have the collections done. Now, the more that other retailers offer takeback, the more frequent the collections will be, because the more they'll need to go out, and that will only be driven by your industry. So just for you, and only for this sector, we've never done before, there is a QR code, and I dare anyone to come to this compliance session run by me and my team at a site, and it's absolutely free. No charge. It's a day you get to spend at a site, and you'll get to see all the impacts. We'll help you choose a program. We'll show you the regulation and talk you through it and talk about the regulations if you want, especially in this sector. And it will be at no cost, it's free lunch. The QR code is up there. The leaflet, there's leaflets there with the QR codes. It's a booking form. You can book on there. It starts from 10 and it finishes around 2:30. And it's at 2 actual recycling sites. I'm trying to bridge the gap between your businesses and the recycling industry. And I promise you now, they're the most friendliest bunch you've ever met, and they'll go really to town to show you the innovation. I mean, John, you know them really well. don't you? They are keen as anything, and the minute you say, tell me about yourself, they will walk with that. And they absolutely love it. So, is there any questions from anybody? At the moment there are consultations, and that consultation is being run by DEFRA. We're scoping out the EU battery regulations. Two reasons. One is that our waste export and import is very much aligned with EU. So there are certain parts of the EU regulation we have no choice on but to adopt. But there are areas of the regulation that we are scoping out, and we are talking to people in the industry. DEFRA has workshops that invite the industry. If you go on gov.uk, you'll be able to, and just put DEFRA batteries, you'll be able to join those workshops and have your say. So at this moment in time, I would just say it's all up in the air. We've discussed various aspects of it, but I can't confirm at this time. Anyone else with a question? No? We're good? Well, thank you for your time, and hopefully I'll get to see some of you at this course.